Welcome back, friends.
Welcome back.
It's time for another episode, an In the Flesh episode.
Season 2.
We got through season 1 of In the Flesh like so fast. Way faster than it was for us to go through the first season of Forever Night. Wonder why that is. Oh, maybe because there was only 3 episodes. And you know what? I love it. I loved season 1, but there's not a ton of plot in season 1, right? It's like Kieren comes home and
interpersonal
sadness.
drama.
Yeah, it's all interpersonal stuff. There's not a lot of stuff that happens. We're changing that for season 2.
I can tell. They're planting a lot of seeds.
Yeah, we got a lot of
episode 1 of season 2.
Got a lot of stuff on our plate. There's a whole feast. If last season was like a microwave dinner in terms of complexity, this is Thanksgiving. We got a lot going on, and we've got 6 episodes to go through it all. So this is going to be a wild ride. That's what I predict. I did do a little digging as to why this show was not as successful as it should have been.
Okay.
And it turns out that in the wild, wild age of 2012, when this show came out, the BBC channel that it was on was attempting to move completely online.
Oh.
So they ended up canceling a lot of shows that would have otherwise been considered successful because they were trying to limit their catalog so that they could host shows purely on a website. Because there's no infrastructure for streaming in 2012.
At the beginning.
Yeah, this is like, Netflix is doing that new instant watch. Remember when Netflix streaming was instant?
I do remember.
Yeah. So they're like, Netflix is doing that whole instant watch thing, and that's sort of hitting it off. And I do remember this because there's another show called Being Human, and they had an online offshoot called Becoming Human. And Becoming Human was only online. And I had to go to the website and find it and watch it. It's not like now where we would have a streaming aggregate. So it should come as a shock to nobody that didn't work. But apparently the guy who wrote In the Flesh wrote a season 3. And he has a podcast where he talks about season 3 and reads the scripts and discusses what would have happened. So when we get all done, if you feel like continuing it, that might be something. I'll try to see if I can dig up a link to it, put it in the show notes.
Cool.
But we pick up a little while after. I don't think we get a good timestamp on how far after, but it's been a while. And the situation has changed dramatically. We have gone from PDS painted on the wall, can't even go outside, to Kieren has a job and he works in the Legion pub where he couldn't even go in before.
Yep. And the amnesty they've referred to.
Yeah, the gun amnesty.
Where all the guns in the town were turned in.
Yeah.
I guess personally owned guns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So nobody's carrying weapons anymore. A lot has happened, and we actually pick up with Ken. We start the series with Ken.
Poor Ken.
I know. Ken has been like...
We were so glad to see Ken.
Ken was like, deuces, Wharton, and he pissed off to the city because he was like, fuck all y'all. I don't want to be here anymore, which I can totally understand.
Right. You took away the most valuable thing to me.
Yeah.
I got revenge, and then I yeeted before the law could find me.
Yeah. He fought the law, and Ken won.
Yeah. Ken fought the law, and Ken won.
For a little while. So he gets to the city, and he's with someone. I think he keeps calling him son, but it feels
probably
like
a
nephew
or grandnephew or something.
And he's, they see a couple of PDS sufferers, and the nephew calls them like rotters, a slur, basically. And Ken is like, no. Like, no, they're just like us. They're people. We need to respect them. Let me tell you a story sometime about some shit that went down and my part in it. Well, maybe I'll tell you a little bit about my part in it. Not about the part where I slayed a man in cold blood and then just walked
I'll
off.
wait till you're grown up to tell you that
You're
part.
grown up. But he's basically like, no, we gotta, we're trying to figure out how to live in peace. And we are this is a good way of showing the viewer sort of the climate of the relations between PDS sufferers and humans right now. Because Ken is like, the little boy asks him about the things that have been happening, like about the uprising, the things that have been happening.
Yeah.
And Ken is like, oh, no, that's sometimes when people are the target of hate, they act out in hate.
Right.
But it doesn't end up solving the problem.
Right. It just makes more heartache.
Yeah, it just makes more heartache. And in between all this, we're seeing people getting ready. And it's clearly PDS sufferers, and they are dressed up in like bloody rags, and they're taking down something. They're in a building, and they're like ripping things off the
They
wall,
had like a
smashing
filming
up
location.
laptops.
They had a drug setup.
Yeah.
Looked like.
It was a safe house of some kind, and they're dismantling it. And then they walk out and everything's gone and clean, and there's nothing in there. And poor Ken and his nephew, they miss the first tram. They're trying to go somewhere, and they end up getting on the second tram with these people that we just saw. And these people snort blue oblivion, which we sowed the seeds of in the first season, but that never came to fruition. But now we're finally bearing fruit.
Right.
So they become rabid and they attack everyone on the tram, including Ken, and Ken dies. So R.I.P. Ken. That was a moment of silence for Ken. I hope everybody else took it too. And then we pick back up in Rorton where it's like, okay, so we had the highest of highs. We had the uprising or the rising. We had the zombie war. We won the zombie war. Zombies have reintegrated into society to great fanfare. And now we're back to business as usual.
Right.
Yeah.
Things are just kind of coasting along.
They're working in the pub. They're working in the grocery store. They've integrated back into society. Everyone's just kind of trying to act like this is cool. And that's where we pick up. And apparently Jemima has gone back to school and is attempting to pass her exams so she can go to university.
Yep.
And I'm glad that we talk about the fact that she has PTSD.
Oh, yeah.
Because I always want to know what happens after we win. That's why I like World War Z so much, just because we talk about so much about what happens after the zombie war. I mean, we always cover the catastrophe, the zombies appear, we fight them, we win. Okay, well, what happens to the people afterwards? What literally happens when you have to go grocery shopping at the grocery store where you watched your brother eat your best friend's brains?
Right.
How do you
I'm
go?
I'm glad they didn't just gloss over that.
Yeah, how do we go about our lives doing that, huh? I feel bad for the zombies that are still in school, though, because we do see Jemima go to school, and there's some zombies at school. And it reminds me of Twilight and the fact that they go to high school. There is no reason for them to go to high school. They could just say they're homeschooled.
Right.
They're like, oh, we
just do an equivalency.
Yeah. I mean, the younger we start, the longer we can stay. I mean, well, that's fine. But if you just don't go out and do very much, then you can stay a real fucking long time because nobody knows who you are. But whatever, it's fine. It's fine. We're not going to talk about Twilight right now.
Save it for the podcast.
Save it for we're on the podcast.
But I mean the Twilight one.
Yeah. And we're also seeing Amy, and we hear, okay, so we get the aftermath of the terrorist attack. We'll just call it what it is, which is
a terrorist.
It's the undead army terrorist attack. And Kieren is clearly concerned that this might be Amy because Amy is with that group.
She's in the commune.
She
sent a postcard with some concerning phrasing.
Yeah, she said she's been chosen for a mission.
A very important mission.
But she can't tell him what it is. And so his dad, I love the dad. Can I just say, the dad. So
he's doing self-work.
he is, because at the end of the last episode, he finally used his emotion language to tell his son how he felt. And now he can't turn off that tap. So he's just like, I'm trying to use my emotion words. I'm trying to tell you guys how I feel. And she's
I love the mom. She's like, I'm very proud of you. You're doing a really good job.
But not right now.
Not right now.
Not right now. I like it.
It works.
Yeah, it works. And we kind of talk a little bit, it's interesting because we were so caught up in the last season with Kieran's effect and the way he moved through the world outside his house. It's interesting now that we're getting a little bit more about the family dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Because last time we talked about how Rick's dad absolutely could not accept
any change,
literally any change, what his son had become.
Yeah.
And we get a really interesting line. We're just going to hop around a little bit because you watched this episode and we're really just discussing it. So we're just going to go with where my mind is going right now, which is the part that sticks out most to me in this entire episode is when they're at the dining room table and the dad is like, oh
yes.
yeah, they went rabid and
but not
eating
like
people,
you.
but not. And Jemima's like, Dad, oh my God, Kieran's sitting right here. And he's like, oh, no, he was never like that. He didn't kill anybody. He just walked around in his suit until he got picked up by the army.
Right, Kieren?
Right, Kieren?
And Kieran's like,
Kieran's
what?
like, oh. And he starts having PTSD flashbacks because now he's like, shit, I killed people. I don't know how many people I killed. I killed a lot of people. And Jemima knows that because she was there when he killed somebody. So she saves him. I mean, it's a very brother-sister moment. She dumps water and they make jokes about the dad's genes. But
his dad is also in
denial. Yeah. He is knee-deep in water and he can see the pyramids because he is
in
denial. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I got so emotional I couldn't finish that joke. But I thought that was really interesting because we didn't talk about what they thought Kieren was doing when he was rabid.
Right.
Last time because we were so caught up in, oh my God, I hope he doesn't run off and do what he did last time.
Right.
Ooh, that's a lot. And Kieren wants to leave because, so what is
Mainland
happening?
Europe is a lot more hospitable
to PDS sufferers
than Britain.
So what's happening now is exactly what's happening now, or what happened in 2016 maybe, which is when you get a rise in tolerance, the bigots and the assholes don't go away.
Right.
They just feel muzzled. And what they want is permission to take the muzzle off.
Right.
And so there is a political movement, the Victus, the Victus movement, Victus party, who is giving them permission to say what they want to say, which is that these people are zombies, they're rabid, and they all need to die.
Let's see, Victus is also a line of gaming computers from HP.
Oh, well, I don't think that's what they're referencing.
It's a nutritional and medical products company. It's a sports company.
Are you trying to find the origin?
Yeah, the etymology of Victus.
Maybe Invictus is what they're going for.
Okay, Victus. From Vivo, live or survive.
Yeah.
The Living Party.
Yeah, the Living Party. Exactly. And we meet a couple of those people too. And this is all extremely triggering because this feels like what happened in 2016 when all of a sudden everyone who had felt muzzled felt like they had permission.
Because the politicians were saying these things that they were saying the quiet part out loud.
They were saying the quiet part out loud.
So they were giving social permission to their constituents.
Yeah, to say all this stuff again. And it's an interesting thing to highlight. That just because everyone is pretending like it's better now, it doesn't mean it's actually gotten better.
Right.
because the work to heal that has not been put in.
Right.
It's just a Band-Aid, like the makeup and the contacts. And we get a little bit more about Kieren and the fact that Kieren is deeply, deeply ashamed of what he is. Because he's been wearing his contacts so much, they hurt his
Nonstop.
eyes. Yeah, they hurt his eyes. And they're like, oh, well, how many hours a day would you say you wear them? And he's like, all the time. And they're like, even when you're sleeping? And he's like, yeah, I used to take them out, but then I decided I didn't want to do that anymore.
Right.
So.
He's also in denial.
Yeah, he is also in denial.
Right next to his dad.
Yes, but not looking in the same direction.
Right. He's looking at a different pyramid.
He's looking at a different pyramid, which is interesting because we didn't really talk about it. I mean, we did a little bit, but we didn't have time for it. We had so many other big issues happening. We didn't really delve down into his personal feelings about the fact that I think
it was the stuff happening outside of him that was the focus of the first season.
Right. And now we're getting a lot more. I mean, this is good. This feels like a mature outgrowth of the first season.
Yes.
This feels like a natural next step, which is okay.
When we were reading up on this and found out it got canceled after the first season, and then there was a big fan petition to bring it back. There's always a worry about bringing it back.
Yeah.
It's like, is it going to be just bleh to make something because there's all these people who want to see it? Or is it going to be something actually deep, meaningful story, narrative content?
Well, I think, given the fact that the creator was so excited about season 3 that they created a podcast to tell everybody about it.
They probably already had a lot planned.
Yeah, I think it had a very dedicated writer. And
which is nice.
And I think that's why it's good. I think that's why it's good. I think it's because this is a passion project for somebody.
Yeah.
And I think that it got canceled before they could tell their whole story, but that they had more story to tell. And that's what it feels like.
And I think all of our listeners should already be aware of how we feel about passion projects.
Yeah, we love a good passion project. And that's exactly what this feels like. And I'm excited to see where this goes because we also meet a new character, a Victus politician, Maxine Martin.
Yeah.
And I think the choice of actress for this is very interesting.
Yes, she was a very personable urban woman.
Yeah.
Moving into the local town and a person of color and giving off a lot of more liberal vibes.
Yeah. At first.
Politically left vibes at first.
Yeah.
And so I was shocked when he looked her up and she was a popular person in the Victus party.
Right.
I'm like, oh,
she's Lauren Boebert secretly.
Twist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Much more charismatic.
But much more charismatic. This is my favorite kind of villain.
Yes.
Yes. The smile to your face, stab you in the back villain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love him every time.
I'm excited about her, especially because she was teaming up with the vicar, and then the vicar had a heart attack or something. And so she took the book of records that she's been looking for a week.
Yeah.
Or 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, because we're going to get, I think we're going to get more mythology in this one, more about why the rising happened.
Right.
And I'm excited about that.
Right. So one of the seeds is the first risen were in Rorton.
Yep.
And what is the significance of that?
Yeah, because we don't know why the dead rose.
Right.
We don't know anything about it. And this is going to be good.
And so she kind of hinted that there's some mythology here that certain people are acting on the information from this mythology in order to influence the outcome of what happens with this second rising.
Yeah.
And she's trying to stop that because the first rising was pretty rough.
Well, I think the second rising is all in the vicar's head.
You think so?
Yeah, I think because we think the vicar and her are going to be at odds. And then the vicar comes to a point where he realizes maybe they're on the same side.
Right.
And that happens when they're at a meeting and she's like, oh no, they're all dead and they all need to die. Because she kills a PDS sufferer who is still rabid with a drill. She graphically drills through the back of this guy's head. And someone at the council is like, that was somebody's son. It doesn't matter if they were local or not. They were trapped in that body and we could have helped them and you killed them instead. And she's like, they all deserve to die? And the vicar's like, oh, tell me more.
Yeah.
Say it again. Say it harder. And so he invites her over to have some whiskey. And they have a couple sips of whiskey and then he takes her out to show her something special, which it turns out is a bunker. Because he thinks if he can get them to kill everybody, kill all of the first risen, there will be a second rising, but this time it will be all the worthy, all the people that deserve to come back, which will be his wife.
Right.
It'll include his wife, and that they'll hide out in this bunker and they'll just ride it out together. And there's room for more. There's room for you, Maxine, if you want to
Wink,
join
wink,
us.
nudge, nudge.
And she's like, you're nuts. You're crazy. You think I want the... No. I want to know. We don't have the same plans at all. And he gets really upset. And that's when he has his well-timed heart attack. I've gotten so stressed and I'm yelling at you that my ticking time bomb of a heart has just exploded right now.
Yeah.
Which that was another
serendipitous.
That was another great scene when we got the vicar fiery sermon scene like we got in the whole first season. But when we pan back,
yes,
there's
5 people.
There's like 5 people in the audience. Yeah. Because nobody cares anymore. The audience that he had before is
he has
not
not
there.
kept up with the times.
Right. And we get Amy back.
Yay!
But, this was also well done because we get a couple of good scenes of her talking about being undead and the redeemed. And then we go back and she sees Kieren and her usual cheerfulness and playfulness and that chemistry, that innocent friend chemistry that they had in the first season now feels vaguely sinister because you don't know why she's back. And she's got somebody with her. And he seems like an asshole too. And they feel as villainous as Maxine Martin does.
Simon does.
Yeah.
Amy's along for the ride.
Yeah, but she still feels like she's been taken in.
Yes.
Like they took advantage of her moment of need, her moment of weakness.
Yeah, and then revealing that Simon is one of the 12 apostles of the undead prophet.
It's a lot.
Yes.
It's a lot. We got a lot of ground to play with that. Plus, he just looks like a douchebag. I don't know.
He does. The actor does a good job giving off those vibes.
And that first meeting with Amy is really interesting because they're playful. They're doing all their usual playfulness. Our wedding's off. Don't be upset. You know, Kieren, you're beautiful. You're more than gorgeous. You're morgeous.
Yeah.
And it's so sweet. And then he says something about you're like a zombie Buddha. And she goes, don't use that word. And he's like, oh, you're a partially deceased Buddha? And she's like, no. Those are the words that the living have made for us. We are the redeemed. We are the undead. And he's like,
oh, that's how it is. Okay.
Okay.
I didn't realize you were that far gone.
You didn't come back the same, Amy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's like a record scratch moment for him. Like, oh shit. Did I get my friend back or did I not get my friend back?
Or am I just a pawn here?
Right.
Let me go home and just double check my travel arrangements.
Yeah. And it's interesting that we leap immediately, heavily into there are 2 sides and Kieren needs to choose. That's the energy we're getting. Not necessarily that you always have to choose a side in situations like this, because it's like saying you need to choose who to hate.
Right.
You need to choose who's going to get hurt. Are you going to get hurt or are we going to hurt the living? Which are we going to do? As opposed to, let's continue to try to make it work and all get along. Like what Ken was saying at the very beginning. Ken is our someone in the first act must state the theme.
Yeah.
And the theme, I think, for this whole season is going to be, and I mean, full disclosure, I don't think I've seen this season.
No.
I really don't. I thought I had. This is one of those, I must have Mandela affected my way into thinking I'd seen it, but I don't think I've seen it. So I don't know where we're going. But I have a strong suspicion Ken set us up.
I think maybe we watched a trailer for season 2.
I think I was like, oh, season 2's coming out. And then with my usual attention to detail, I waited 11 years. And now I'm watching it. So what can I say? I get around to things eventually. I have my own timeline. Yeah, so I don't know where we're going, but I really feel like Ken set us up, which is hate breeds more hate.
Right. And that's the wrong way to go.
Hurt breeds more hurt. And it doesn't solve anything in the end. It's not a solution. What they're doing may seem like not enough, but it's better than the alternative, which was everyone running around shooting each other and stabbing each other in the head with knives.
Right.
Almost as if we were on our way to a place where acceptance was on the horizon. It may not have come yet. It may have been the illusion of acceptance, but it was coming.
The Victus Party is probably aware. Sorry, I had to burp. The Victus Party is probably aware socially that the momentum is going towards acceptance and integration.
Yeah.
And so they need a powerful backlash against that to have a hope of preventing it.
Right. And you can usually tell how big of a wave of change has just gone through by how big of the backlash you get.
Right.
Which
and
is
with
what we're going through right now, too.
With how violently Maxine was talking in that video, we know, we get a sense of how hard they feel like they have to fight against the inevitable.
Right. It's like a rubber band snapback.
Yeah.
When we pull it far enough, it's got to snap back.
Yeah.
And so we're in the snapback right now. And yeah, I thought it was interesting to see how Kieren had carved out this life for himself and how quickly it all falls apart too. Because when Amy shows up, they show up on their night out, which leads me to believe this is all about Kieren. Whatever reason they're there, it's for Kieren because they needed him. They need him on their side.
Right. There's something special about Kieren.
Yeah.
Probably related to the first Risen or in Rorton. I wonder if they need to get all of the mobile PDS sufferers, the non retired PDS sufferers from Rorton.
Redeaded. Yeah. Dead.
Yeah. I wonder if they feel like they need to recruit all of them.
I don't know because that's also who Maxine is looking for. Well, she's looking for records. Right. And some are missing, and it turns out the vicar has the records. And we don't know what records were missing or why. Right. There's a lot of good hooks in this episode.
Right. We're probably going to have some secret PDS sufferers.
No, I think it's more like she needed a complete list for some reason. Right. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird because I don't know because I don't know where we're going. And we haven't done a television show yet where neither one of us have seen it. This is really interesting. And maybe
I wonder if it's related to what caused it.
Yeah. These are all good speculations. Yeah. I just think they did a good job. They did a good job setting the hook for a lot of different things. And none of it did I feel like felt contrived. It all felt like a natural outgrowth.
Yeah. And
the character that we love to hate is gone, the vicar. And we got a new character.
Yes, I really like that they set up that tension with the vicar and Maxine. It's like, okay, you could totally ride out this conflict, like the conflict of the villains.
Yeah.
But then as Maxine is kind of getting settled in, we get, oh, nope, bye, vicar.
Yeah.
Bye, Felicia.
Bye. Yeah, because he starts having a heart attack. She runs in down 911, sees that he had the record. 999. Sorry. Runs in to dial 8. What's the one from the IT crowd?
Hold on. We're going to pause. I'm going to look it up.
It's one of my favorite scenes. And then he ends up sending them an email. I'm sorry to bother you, but it appears I have a fire.
0118999881999
7253. So she goes in.
You can put a sound clip from there. I'll send you the video.
Oh, thank you. So she goes in to call that, and then she's like, that bastard kept this back from me. Ooh, we also got to see Philip. Philip went to some kind of secret meetup.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. Remember he went to that building
Oh,
and they
yes.
had a flower outside, and he said,
And I thought, oh, uh-oh.
yeah.
Now we have to bring up the goddess Ishtar on the podcast again.
Yes.
The last time that happened,
Oh, not
things got wild.
Gilgamesh. No. Matt, would you like to discuss, can you give us a rundown on who the goddess Ishtar is?
No.
Yeah, no, do, because people might not know.
Listen to our...
No, break it down. We didn't talk about who Ishtar was. We just talked about Gilgamesh and Enkidu.
Okay, so I read Gilgamesh a while ago, and Ishtar is a big deal there.
Yeah.
But the Temple of Ishtar is a place where basically sexuality was celebrated and provided. And so there were volunteers, adherents to the religion, that if you needed some human physical connection, you could go get it there.
Yeah.
And in the Gilgamesh story, I think it's the gods create Enkidu as a companion for Gilgamesh, because Gilgamesh is like he's too much.
Yeah.
And he needs
He's
some
too
balance.
extra.
He needs something to balance him. And so they create Enkidu, and Enkidu is just this half beast, half divine thing wandering through the forest, and the high priestess at the temple goes and humanizes him.
Yeah.
By having sex for 7 days straight.
I
and
mean,
by the end of it, he can speak.
That would calm anybody down. So it's interesting that we bring that in, that the goddess Ishtar is the password into whatever this is that he's going to.
Right. Ishtar, that's
also
the
interesting
main...
that the half beast, half divine description very, very succinctly fits our PDS sufferers.
I like that.
The only thing in this episode that I felt was consistently frustrating is the fact that Kieren wants to move on and start a new life. He wants to go to Paris. He wants to become an artist.
Literally everybody is trying to talk him out of it.
And everyone is like, well, no, you can stay in Roriton if you want to. You don't need to leave if you don't want to. You don't have to feel like you need to go. And it's like, no, you don't understand. He doesn't want to stay here. He is not getting kicked out. He is voluntarily leaving. Would you all get up off his fucking back about it?
Right?
Yeah, that's how I felt. So every time someone
Why
was
is
like,
everybody
oh, no,
holding him back?
Right. Even Amy's like, oh, no, don't go yet. Which
Well,
feels...
she has an ulterior motive.
I know,
I'm
that
feeling.
felt so selfish when she was like, well, don't leave yet. I just got back. No, let the man go. It's fine. Maybe he'll meet somebody there. He even has a book that has PDS-friendly places to stay. I mean, I get why Kieren's upset. I mean, I get why Kieren can't look at himself in the mirror. Because this thing has happened to him that everyone can see.
Everybody's in denial about.
And everyone can see. He can't. I mean, he can hide it, but he can't really hide it. He's at the pub, and for a second, Maxine doesn't realize it, and then she puts her hand on his, and he must be cold. And she realizes.
Yeah, oh, yes. Yes, she recognizes that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, being the first PDS sufferer in Roriton that she interacts with, she probably has plans for Kieren too. Given that she's had a personal interaction with him.
I mean, I think she just has a plan for everybody.
I think she has plans for all of them.
Yeah.
But since she's directly interacted with Kieren, I feel like he's going to be the example that she makes
Yeah.
for the rest of them.
This show was a masterclass in foreshadowing too.
Yes.
This episode was the point where Maxine is staying at the bed and breakfast, and the lady's like, "Oh, we're gonna watch TV in a little bit if you want to watch it." And she's like, "Oh, what kind of show is it?" And she says, "Oh, it's a mystery show, but it's the best kind where everybody's a suspect." And she's like, "Oh,
yes,
that's
is
my
foreshadowing
favorite
too.
bit." Yeah. Oh, and how funny was them sitting with the mother-in-law? How bad would that be if you had...
Especially after her sympathies were revealed.
Yes, well, that part too, but also imagine being married and you have an overbearing mother-in-law who doesn't like your spouse and you're always fighting. And then finally, tragically, you are relieved of that sense of constant conflict. And then all of a sudden, not only are they back, but they're never going to die again. And they won't leave. And you can't do anything about it.
Right.
Yeah. That would be...
Oof.
Yeah. I hope the cat didn't die. Remember, she goes out to feed the cat.
Oh,
No. The cat got scared away.
The cat was scared of the zombie?
Yeah, the cat was scared of the zombie.
Or the PDS sufferer?
I mean, zombies survive. I mean, cats survived, so clearly cats knew to stay away, right? We're just going to go with that.
Well, there are a lot of cats. Like,
I know there's a lot of cats.
There's a wild number of, like, feral cats.
Are you trying to convince me it's okay because there's going to be more cats where that came from?
I'm not trying to, like, reassure you or placate you about the what's the word?
The prognosis?
It was right there. It was, I'm not trying to convey that the suffering of any cats killed by zombies is inconsequential.
Diminished. You were not trying to diminish the suffering.
Yes.
Okay.
I was trying to... I was speaking to the point of any concern about cats being wiped out.
Right.
Because there are just so many wild
Interesting
cats.
that there's still roaming rabid zombies.
I feel like this
far
is
along.
a recent development because of the Liberation Army.
Well, they were talking about the fence, that they have a fence to keep them
Right.
out, and that the fence is maybe failing, and that they need to reinforce the fence. And it implies that there are enough around that they need... Well, I mean, I guess if literally everyone who died in the entire year of 2009 all got up at once, that's a lot to deal with. I guess that's a lot to deal with. So it would take, a long time, especially if they've been like out in the wild or if they've been able to eat other things. And so they haven't come in, and now that their food supply maybe is running out, they need to come back in. I mean, there's a lot of open country.
That's true.
For a zombie to get lost in.
Up in the highlands.
Well, they're out in the rural,
right. They're in the rural north.
Yeah.
Just south of the highlands.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's any Highlanders.
I'll talk about Highlanders right now. That's Scottish. Don't even. It's different.
It's adjacent.
Okay. I don't know.
North England is Scotland adjacent.
Yeah, I don't know. What was the point of the doctor's visit where the lady was flirting with the doctor? It was
foreshadowing.
Was it foreshadowing? It was at the very beginning, and it was the lady who was our
the nurse,
covert nurse from the first season. And maybe it was just to tie up her now that she can actually be at a clinic. She's not having to make house calls.
Right.
And she is also saying, "Oh, you don't need to go anywhere, Kieren. There's no reason to run. You can stay here. It's beautiful. The valley is beautiful. We're known for our picturesque."
I think she's in denial about the state of affairs locally. And Kieren leaving would enlighten her as to the PDS sufferer's perception of how things are going locally.
Well, he's not just fleeing because he's a PDS sufferer.
Right.
He wants to recapture his lost life. He lost everything. He lost his, I mean, he
Right. Like he
however,
wants to go to art school.
however it was lost, it was lost. He made a choice, and because of that, the life that he wanted, he didn't get. And now he got a second chance, which, as we know, when he was talking about Rick, he sort of views as a gift. He hates the way the gift has been given. He doesn't necessarily like what he is, but this is maybe a chance for him to recapture a little bit of that life. And he wants to go do it. He wants to go to Paris. He wants to be alive again. And he can't because no one will get up off his back about it. They're like, stay in Rorton, this place that has shit on you, killed you twice almost, killed your boyfriend twice.
Right.
Walk every day by the places where you used to be with the person you loved and have now lost tragically twice. Hang out and try to be normal with these people that just tried to kill you, including douchebag HVF guy Gary, who finally Kieren stands up to because he's in the bar getting drunk, yelling about zombies and rotters and how they all need to die, and making dead jokes every time Kieren comes by, which he's putting up with because he doesn't want to rock the boat.
Right.
But then when Amy shows up with Simon, thank you. And it was a generic white boy name.
Amy
Simon.
and Simon are deliberately rocking the boat.
Yeah, they're there to deliberately rock the boat. And it ends up getting Kieren riled up enough that he tries to kick Gary out. And Gary's like, what are you going to do about it? Well, he's a PDS sufferer. He shoves him halfway across the room. And then Simon ends up choking Gary. And his boss, who had just told him, look around, someday all of this could be yours.
Again, talking Kieren into staying.
Yeah. She hands him the keys because she's going to promote him to a key holder. And she points a gun at him. And so he just takes the keys out of his pocket, puts them on the counter, and he's like, fuck all y'all, I'm out. And he leaves. And that leads us
Which
more or less to
frees
the end
him
of the
up.
episode. Yeah.
It frees up his day and nighttime hours to pursue plot activities
Yes.
for the rest of the season.
So at this point, Amy and Simon are rocking the boat for unknown reasons. The vicar is dead.
As far as we know.
As far as we know.
Probably.
Maxine is our new antagonist, and she is very wholeheartedly on the scene and has got a picture of every single PDS sufferer who rose in Rorton. We have Jemima, who is struggling at school, struggling with her PTSD, struggling with the things she has done, struggling to find a new life, and Kieren, who is prepared to leave. He's packing his suitcase. He's ready to go be somewhere new and get out of this shithole for a little while. And that's where we leave it.
The foreshadowing also implies that Jem is going to have to deal with a romantic admirer.
Yeah. I want to see where that goes too.
Yeah.
The little zombie PDS sufferer who has the hots for Jem. He said the only reason he came back is so he could be with Jem Walker, which is really cute. And that's where we leave this episode. And I'm excited about the next one. I want to see where we're going. I feel like they do a very good job of evoking a lot of strong emotions.
It was not as dense as the first season.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like they were trying to pack in as much metaphor.
The tone
allegory.
The tone was far more like a setup and far less like a tragedy.
Yeah.
You can see tragedy on the horizon, but it wasn't quite hitting you over the head with tragedy in the way that the first season did. And I'm okay with that. I feel like 6 episodes with the same heavy, difficult, emotive tone of the first season would have been a lot to go through. And I'm interested to have a plot to pull us through all of the emotions I have a very good feeling we're about to feel.
Yeah.
What I want to know was, would this have hit the same in 2012 as it does now?
I don't think it would have.
I don't think it would have. I think it
I
would
don't
have.
remember. I guess we weren't analyzing things as heavily then, but I don't remember the first 3 episodes hitting as hard as when we just rewatched them.
I remember it feeling like, oh, that's sad for those characters.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really hard for those characters. But now I'm like, oh, God. I could go out on the street right now and see something very much like this. And I don't think I didn't feel that way when I
It
watched
wasn't
it the
as
first time.
relatable.
Yeah, it wasn't as relatable. And I'm wondering if it would have felt as relatable. This season would have felt as relatable. I don't know, because we can't go back. We can't go back. But I don't know, the whole like domestic terrorism, the response to progress with a push for return to values or whatever is very triggering and very relatable and very hard to watch, but necessary to watch. I'm interested to see where we go with it.
Yeah, and I think removing the vicar was a big part of progressing the narrative of this story, because season 1, it was all like religious ideology
Yeah.
driving the antagonistic behavior.
Yes. Yeah.
But now, we were kind of continuing that with opening with the vicar, but now we've removed the vicar. We've
Yeah.
removed the antagonistic motivations from the religious ideology to something else.
Yeah. A
Political ideology.
An inherent bias endemic in the system against anything different from the status quo.
Right. And this goes, I feel like this is going to go into much more of a social political commentary.
Yeah.
Rather than a religious commentary.
Which is good.
Yes.
I think it's good
agree.
because I feel like when we focus too hard on the religion, people are like, oh, I'm not in a cult. I'm not like that. It's fine.
Right.
Which is how I felt about Midnight Mass. Is we leaned
Yes,
hard into the religion that I was like, oh my fucking God. That show is massively improved if you fast forward through all of the sermons, by the way. Just putting that out there. But yeah, that felt like, oh, by the end of it, you were just like, I'm really glad all these people are dying. I'm just glad they're all dying.
The content becomes a turn
oh,
off.
God. And I'm glad we pivoted. If I'd had to go through 6 episodes of The Vicar pontificating, I don't know how I would feel about it. And I don't know, we may get that because we haven't seen it. We don't know. But I'm glad to see we are setting it up for a far larger conversation than just religion.
I feel like Maxine is more adapted to appealing to a wider, more mainstream audience than just the like fundamental religious factions.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's where we're going to leave it. Because now we're going to watch episode 2 and see where that goes. I'm excited. I know this is going to end on a cliffhanger because it got canceled again. So I know it's going to break my heart, but I'm ready for this ride. Do you have anything else you want to add? You want to talk about Gilgamesh, Ishtar, nature of human sexuality, anything like that?
Maybe on the next drunk watch along.
Yeah.
Review.
Now that we've broken the Ishtar gates open again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'll have to do some research.
I think it's fascinating. The idea that pre-Christian cultures had such a, not all pre-Christian cultures, but there are some pre-Christian cultures that had such extremely fluid and almost divine relationship with the way we thought about human sexuality, because it is an act of creation, or can be an act of creation, but it can also be just an act of intimacy and communication between two people.
Yep. And
the fact that that can be light, but it can also be an extremely profound experience for two people. You better wrap this up or I'm going to start talking about it again.
Well, I was going to say that Ishtar and Inanna were kind of got mushed together. But she was the goddess of love, war, and fertility,
Love it.
and associated with beauty, sex, divine law, and political power. And perceived as the inspiration for the Greek Aphrodite and possibly Athena. Yeah.
That would make sense.
So remember, well, I don't know if that's a good segue, but
That's a good segue. Normally, you don't even have a segue. I just stare at you hard until you start saying it.
yeah. Oh, there's a way I wanted to do it. Let me think. Oh, speaking of changing the subject, remember, sometimes the strangest things are the most beautiful too.
So be who you are and love what you love. Until next time, friends.
Bye.
Bye.